Welcome to the Wolf and Bull Podcast. I am your friendly neighborhood wolf. And with me, I have my wonderful co-host.
The Bull. He's in the house with his cowbell still.
Yeah,
for God's sakes.
You are.
Somebody get me something other than a cowbell someday.
That's gonna have to. We're gonna have to send that up to upper management.
Upper management,
C-level. I don't know if I can make that executive decision myself. And additionally, we also have Beowulf. She is our shining Jamie in all of her Irish glory. I don't even really know what that means at this point.
I'm not sure either. Obviously, you're referring to the mysterious Jamie from the Joe Rogan podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me. Hey, glad to be back.
Jamie O'Shaughnessy.
Yeah, I don't know who Jamie O'Shaughnessy is.
Sounds Irish, so I
it does.
Yeah. Go with that.
There you go,
Something like
Jamie
that.
O'Shaughnessy. That's your new name. Anyway, welcome back to the show. It's been 30 days. We have been gone for quite a little bit because we've been busy. Yeah, you gonna let you say that.
The busiest
30
people
days.
in the country. There's no one else listening
No
who's
one.
been
No
as
one else.
busy
No
as
one's
us.
busy.
We know.
They're all
we know.
just sitting around waiting for our next podcast.
Exactly. They're just
On
sitting.
pins and needles.
Yeah, we're that important. It's great to feel that way. We happen to be a podcast for those looking for captivating conversations, current events, and laughs, or a thought-provoking listen, something that the Bull is just so prolific at providing. If that's you, if you're looking for that, then you've come to the right place. So if you'd like to become part of the Wolf and Bull family, then you can find all of our latest updates and our content via our Instagram account at The Wolf and Bull. It'll be somewhere right here. And you can also find us on YouTube and on Rumble via The Wolf and Bull. Now, just a quick reminder, this episode is brought to you by Americano Ammunition Coffee, serving true American patriots the means to defend their freedom, one caffeinated caliber at a time. Visit their website, ammoandcoffee.com, and grab yourself a bag of coffee beans, or visit their shop in Queen Creek, Arizona, mention the Wolf and Bull, and you're going to get 25% off of your order at checkout. So, super phenomenal deal.
One caffeinated caliber at a time, baby.
There we go.
Exactly.
I highly recommend, if you're going to order online, all the coffee beans are great, but if you're going into the store, get the Desert Eagle.
Do they sell the whole beans, or do they sell them all ground up already?
They do both.
They do both, but I always recommend invest in a good coffee grinder. Grind the beans yourself at home.
more
Much fresher. Yes.
And then get yourself one of those growlers.
Have you used a French coffee press?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
have one?
Yes,
What
we
am
do.
I saying?
Of course we
You
do.
have like 15 different coffee
We do.
makers.
We
of
have.
different kinds.
You know what? I'm not going to mention it because it's very embarrassing and pretentious to say out loud just how many coffee machines
7.
ways of. Yep.
Me, I just have a coffee can full of Sanka. That's what I have.
So how's everybody doing? Where have we been? What have we been up to?
Ooh, in the past month, we've done a lot of traveling for work.
Actually, time has just stood still. The last 30 days have gone by in a blink.
Well, how many places have you been in the past month? You've been.
I asked you this the other day.
You've been to different countries, different states.
I've been to Mexico and Canada. I've been to Michigan, Illinois. I've been to
Texas
California twice and Texas twice.
and Arizona, of course.
Well, I've moved around Arizona.
Yes.
Just moving around.
We've done about half of those same locations in the past 30 days.
Beautiful places all.
Yes.
I enjoyed every single trip. A couple of trips I enjoyed too much because I drank a little too much of something called
beverage.
Irish whiskey.
Whiskey. For our second segment, or for second ceremoniously unceremonial whiskey review, we have decided to tickle our taste buds with the wonderfully smooth, invigoratingly American Buffalo Trace whiskey.
Buffalo.
Now,
You know what the male buffalo is called?
I don't.
A bull, baby. A bull.
Well, for all you listening, if you happen to be interested in whiskey, Buffalo Trace has an interesting little blurb on their bottle, and I'm going to go ahead and read a quick excerpt of it. The ancient paths... Oh, actually, I should do this in a country voice. The ancient paths of countless buffalo led America westward. Legendary explorers, pioneers, and settlers alike followed these trails known as traces through rugged wilderness to new lands, new adventures, and newfound freedom. One such trace, called the Great Buffalo Trace, crossed the Kentucky River at a spot just north of present-day Frankfort. early pioneers settled here in 1775, and with the plentiful, pure limestone water in rich river bottom loam for growing exceptional grains, distillation quickly followed. With an unparalleled reputation for creating outstanding bourbon whiskey, the Buffalo Trace Distillery today stands as one of America's oldest distilling sites. The bold heritage of the mighty Buffalo and the individuality and pioneering spirit of those early Americans are again found in Buffalo's Trace Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, the very finest bourbon created at the Buffalo Trace Distillery. Traditionally handcrafted, you think it's done? Yeah. Traditionally handcrafted, Buffalo Trace has a smooth, confident taste that invites discovery with every sip. Explore Buffalo Trace and taste the spirit of legends.
I love that.
I'm gonna put.
You know what's amazing? You know what's amazing about that whole story? So here you go. You've got a few hundred people out in the west version of what America was at that time, settling in along the rivers where the loam was thick and ready to be planted. So instead of like planting like crops to eat and stuff, hey, let's make some whiskey. Some bourbon.
We don't need no food.
We don't need no food. We got some corn over there. We got some maize over there. And
well, so whiskey interestingly, I did not know this, and this would probably be something fun to do in the future per Wolf and Bull Travels, since we don't record those.
Ooh, we should record that.
Well, interestingly enough, this distillery has a really rich history, with it dating all the way back to 1771. In fact, the old Taylor House, which was built by Commodore Richard Taylor in 1792, actually still sits on the Buffalo Trace Distillery site today. Just a few interesting nuggets I thought I would bring out before we tell you the price and our rating. In 1771, Daniel Boone passed through Leestown on Buffalo Trace, or following a Buffalo Trace. In 1773, McAfee Brothers and Hancock Taylor surveyed the Frankfort area. In 1775, Hancock and Willis Lee established Leestown, north of Frankfort settlement along the Kentucky River, which is now home to the Buffalo Trace Distillery. In 1792, Kentucky becomes the 15th state in the Union. So this is before all that. And then in 1811, a 3-story warehouse is built on Kentucky River to store goods, including whiskey awaiting shipment to New Orleans. And then Benjamin Blanton, who played a part in this, and you can see this on their website, by the way. He played a part in the distilling process. He was thought to have created a distillery or started distilling there in the future. And then in 1858, Daniel Swigert created a small distillery using warehouse and the Riverside site. So it's pretty interesting.
You know what? Yeah. Good times, bad times, high times, low times.
You gotta start singing?
Yes. I'm going to sing the Buffalo Trace song.
Did you literally just quote a lyric from Good Times, Bad Times? You literally just quoted a lyric. What song is that? I know that song.
If that was a lyric, it came from the unconscious levels of the bull. Oh. But I forget what the hell I was going to say. Oh, no. I mean, no matter what, people were drinking, man.
Yeah, they were.
They were drinking. Yep. They were always drinking.
To everyone in the studio, let's give it a nice
cheers to the old Buffalo
taste and
Tracers.
Buffalo Trace.
All right.
Good stuff.
Okay. Ugh. That sounded vile.
That's some good stuff. Some solid stuff.
Ooh, that is.
Look at this dice over here. Look at her. Nice. That ruined it. That's okay.
Now I can drink that.
Yeah. Nice.
I almost said rum and Coke. It's not even a rum.
Put a little
Whiskey
solid.
Coke.
Put a little solid Coke sugar in there.
Better.
Still a lot.
Okay. Well.
Oh, jeez.
On that note, what's your rating?
My rating.
Your rating on yucky, between 0 and yucky.
Listen, I am not a huge drinker in any form. What was the rating again? Yucky and what?
Just on a scale of 1 to yucky, actually.
Okay, I guess with a Coke, that would be like
1 being good, yucky being bad.
Like a 6 or 7.
Wow, so it's close to yucky. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, I drink fruity.
So we're doing the rating opposite.
Drinks.
Well, shouldn't it go from yucky to?
Yes, no. It's 1 to yucky.
It's a lot. It's a lot for me.
Well, for me, I mean, that's like an 8,
solid,
9. That's an 8.9.
It's got a little bit of an afterbite to it, which you kind of want with whiskey.
I'm not much
but it's
of a
not
judge.
Extended. Yeah. You know what I mean? It just gives you a lot
of caramel.
Ugh.
What's your rating? I said 8,
caramel.
9. Caramel.
I don't know if there's much caramel in
There's
there.
an A
There's
after,
definitely
there's an
caramel.
A after the R.
You know,
Caramel.
on the west side of the Mississippi, they call it caramel. The east side of the Mississippi, they call it caramel.
Well, my family is from Ireland.
Be a true
so.
Buffalo Tracer.
Your family's actually from California, but
No, it's from Ireland. It's from Ireland. Stop it. So your rating is solid?
Yeah, I may have to have a second pour before I decide.
oh boy.
Well, yeah, that about wraps up the unceremoniously
The entire
ceremony.
show.
Yeah, we're done. The unceremoniously ceremonial whiskey review. Beowulf, what are the segments that we're talking about today? What is the first segment?
Well, first we have to talk about the most groundbreaking of the three we're going to talk about. And unless you've been
Groundbreaking.
under a rock, groundbreaking, so to speak, you probably already heard the news.
What level of the Richter scale is this groundbreaking?
Depends on who you ask. Because it can be anywhere from 1 to 10, depending.
Do I need another sip of...
Is it really groundbreaking? Is it unbelievably groundbreaking?
Well-
like my hotel chain.
Yeah. There you go.
All my friends.
The
go there.
Department of Justice, or the DOJ for short, has released and unsealed federal indictment of former President Donald J. Trump.
This is the
Is it
second.
J?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
this is the second one during an election cycle, right? Just to clarify, this is number 2.
Number 2.
Okay, cool.
It's 37 felony counts, and they've all been filed against him, including charges related to mishandling classified documents, obstructing justice, and making false statements. It was unsealed after a grand jury in Miami voted to indict him, alleging that he knowingly kept hundreds of classified government documents in his Florida residence and conspired to prevent their return to U.S. officials.
Yo, so pause. Interesting that it happened in Florida. Ron DeSantis?
Yes,
Is
why would it happen
DeSantis
in
making a
Florida?
push?
No.
Well,
it happened in Miami-Dade, right?
I also must clarify, it wasn't just Trump. A former Trump aide, his name being Walt, is it Nauta? Nauta. I think Noda?
Noda, because it sounds like Yoda.
Okay, so the former aide, Noda, he's facing charges in the same indictment because he was caught on surveillance camera removing boxes from Mar-a-Lago. And it seems that there is more to the story than may meet the eye. But yes.
Like, for example, Melania and I made love on top of all the boxes that I took. It was wonderful. We made love right on the boxes. You would have been jealous watching. This is a terrible
I don't need
Trump.
to picture that.
He has a lot of like grain. Like, you would have been jealous watching. Like, he has that weird kind of throaty grain that I can't yet do. But yeah, that's what happened. What I heard through the grapevine.
Well, there are a couple of opinions floating around, as you could imagine, surrounding this. There's a couple. In an interview, actually this morning, on Fox News Sunday, Trump's former Attorney General Bill Barr expressed concern for the 2024 Republican presidential hopeful. He stated that if even half of the allegations in this indictment are true, Trump's chances are doomed. Barr described the indictment as highly detailed, extremely damaging.
So basically, he disbarred Trump.
Disbarred. Ooh.
He dissed.
That's his. That should be his like trademark. Like
Had to throw one out there.
His
I
slogan.
owned you. I barred you. Okay, I was stupid.
Like his
That made mine sound really good. Thank you.
So he's basically like Trump, except he's barring people instead of firing them. Got it.
Sure. But he also dismissed the notion that Trump was being a victim of a witch hunt, which is a popular opinion. He called that ludicrous or ridiculous.
You're a witch.
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Barr also stressed that Trump is not a victim, but rather in the wrong for possessing such highly sensitive secrets and such a careless handling of these documents. Also, special counsel Jack Smith for the prosecution's office, they also spoke about the indictment, emphasizing that the charges against the former president are serious violations of our national security laws. He encourages the public to read the indictment, which is available to you online. Just a quick Google search, you'll find it.
Have you ever read anything that's written by a lawyer? Come on now.
They aren't fun. But some Republicans, such as presidential candidate, is it Vivek Ramaswamy? I'm sorry. I can't pronounce that name very well. I could give him...
Swami.
Sure. Thank you. Stands by
Use
Trump.
the initials.
Yes. Okay. So VR. Virtual reality. No, has stood by Trump amid these allegations. And even announced that if elected, he would pardon Trump. before any specifics about the indictment came out, that was promised, reiterated this stance on CNN's State of the Union. And on the other side of the aisle, Democratic officials have taken a less forgiving stance, as you could imagine. House Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan dismissed the indictment as purely political, claiming that Trump has declassified these materials and had the right to handle them as he saw fit. However, when pressed for evidences by CNN Dana Bash, who you may be familiar with.
Dana Bash.
Yes, Jordan simply relied on Trump's word for that. And, of course, Democratic Senator Chris Coons of Delaware has said that no one is above the law. And on ABC's The Week,
those in glass houses should not be throwing stones.
Has no one to blame but himself for
no
being federally and criminally
above
indicted.
the law except Nancy Pelosi's husband, Hillary Clinton burning all of her emails, Obama kids in Africa without consent of Congress. What about George Bush? He took down two. That is an assumption. What about first Bush number one?
Should I get him a
He
tinfoil
probably
hat?
started something else. And then don't forget Bill Clinton, who could have taken out Osama at a given time.
He was busy smoking cigars.
Yeah, and getting white paint on his shirt, or a blue dress. With that being said, you know
wore
what?
that
Here's
blue
the
dress,
problem.
you know it.
Of course he did. Here's the problem with all this. And look,
Don't forget our current
Dick Cheney,
house plant.
Dick Cheney, his friend, and getting away with
that
it.
was that true too.
Yeah, you know.
No, I'm talking about. You got to remember, this indictment came out on the same day as something else, right?
I don't pay attention because
that was what the hope is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to distract from the fact that the Congress just got a hold of the documents from the FBI asserting that Joe and his little boy got
no,
a
the
lot
big
of money
guy,
each.
the big guy,
The big guy
Call
and
him
the
big
little
guy.
boy,
Yeah.
the big guy and the little boy were involved in all that Ukrainian Burisma nonsense.
Yeah.
Geez, the same day, hey, we better announce the indictment.
Well, and that also comes, by the way, on the heels of aliens being seen in Las Vegas.
You're skipping ahead.
With that being said, it's so unironic that it's laughable. Because, look, am I a fan? I don't think anyone here thinks I'm a fan of Trump. I'm not a fan of Trump. With that being said, this is silliness. It's stupid.
Well, I want to hear more of what you have to say.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's important to remember that in our legal system here in the United States of America, everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt.
Unless
in the
you're
court of law.
Republican.
Unless you're indicted in the
Unless you're anyone,
court of public
unless you're
opinion.
anyone but someone who is left leaning. Because I'm in the middle, and I would be guilty as all hell.
Trump and his aide, who's also indicted, should be given the benefit of the doubt until the trial takes place.
Of course they should.
But let's talk about a little bit of this detail here. It's set to be in the Southern District of Florida, like you said, Florida. And the details revealed in the indictment are quite astonishing, as some would say. It's alleged that Trump shared a classified map related to a military operation and stored boxes containing classified documents improperly at Mar-a-Lago. I keep saying Mar-a-Lago, like margarita.
Mar-a-Lago.
Mar-a-Lago. I'm sorry. Whatever. Believe it or not, these boxes were found in various places, such as a bathroom, a ballroom,
a nice.
shower. I even included a little picture here, which I love. I see all these bankers' boxes, which I'm very familiar with. Not these specific ones, of course. Never me. But the bankers' boxes and just filing stuff all stacked in a bathroom.
Can we pause for a second on the note of it being stored in a bathroom, bankers' boxes? We'll show the photo. Why is it that our public officials choose to store documents in the dumbest possible places?
Like bathrooms
don't.
or garages?
They don't.
Or next to their Corvette. What is?
Well, if
what is
if
the
you're
decision
Trump and you
here?
want to read some of this, what's the best place to read it?
Oh, the toilet.
There you go, right there.
Best literature available.
Who doesn't have a magazine in their toilet?
Doesn't he eat like McDonald's for like every meal?
Well-
Why he would have to be there a lot.
These
Jeez.
documents, allegedly, they contain sensitive information about defense and weapons capabilities, United States nuclear programs,
TP.
and potential vulnerabilities for military
Nuclear
attack.
site. Oh,
Well, for the federal
let me
prosecutors,
torpedo that.
they claim that the former president defied requests from the Justice Department to release these documents and surrender them, and they accuse him of making false statements to the FBI, enlisting his aides to help hide the boxes and records when they were requested. And our national defense information laws are crucial for the safety and security of the country. However, this makes me wonder personally how many other top-level officials and presidents, past and former,
all of them,
are quite possibly biting their nails over this.
Well, no, they're not biting their nails, though. That's the problem,
precedent.
is they're not biting their nails. Here's the issue with this whole entire thing is, and this is coming, again, from someone who's not a fan of Trump, the standards aren't the same. If I do something and I happen to have a bunch of friends who all think like me and say the same things like me, like a bunch of riotous parrots, and I do something wrong, they're going to protect me because I'm a part of their group. But if I don't like what they're saying and I don't agree with them, but I'm respectful, even though Trump isn't exactly respectful all the time, I'm immediately blasted as guilty. Guilty without evidence. Guilty without trial. That's the problem here. We can talk about all of these things that Trump has done wrong once we start talking about what happened with Benghazi. Once we start talking about what happened with 9/11, once we start talking about what happened with the non-approved droning of civilians in Egypt, then we can talk about that. Because those things happened beforehand. And I don't know about anyone watching or anyone listening, but I believe in 1, 2, 3, ABC, consecutive. I don't go start at Z and go all the way back to A. Because
that's our system now, right?
Yeah.
Start now and let's continue to go backward until you have everybody in the history of the world fall out of favor in the eyes of the elite status people that are looking to be whatever they're looking to be today. I mean, it's the whole thing is, and I don't believe, Jim Jordan says, hey, this is all pure politics. I guess depending on your definition of politics, but I think the thing people fail to remember about this, and I don't think people should be able to run willy-nilly over the systems that are put in place in the United States. You said it yourself, Jamie, that there are ways that the legal and judicial system in the United States works that's supposed to cover all of us, right? But that's a pipe dream. That's a pipe dream. So think about this for a second. The whole Watergate scandal, which seems like the littlest fucking thing in the world now compared to what's going on these days. That dismantled a presidency that won every state except one in that election. Didn't need to do any of that stuff. But it forced him out of office because of the way the public was defined in the public. Is what he did. And I'm not saying what he did was right. That's beside the point. What happened, though, is Ford, what did he do when he got in the office?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't alive.
Pardoned him.
Yeah, it was dead.
He pardoned him.
I don't remember.
He pardoned him. And let's think about why. Now, part of it might have been a behind-the-scenes deal, but he was vice president. He was going to be the next one in line, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure they had discussions about this. But the public line, or Ford's line, if you read things after his presidency, what he talked about is he said, look, this is the presidency. This is the quote unquote most powerful person in the entire world as far as the political scene. Now that in part is true, and the other part of it is their figurehead. Always has been, because there's this big construct of lifelong swamp things, if you want to put.
Hey, be careful! That's way too radicalized.
Well,
right wing.
That's the way a lot of people think of it. But the bottom line is there are people in Washington who've been there for 30, 40, 50 years.
Mm-hmm. Or 1,000.
Like Biden.
Or 1,000 if you're Speaker Pelosi.
But the point is that if you want a system, see, this is not, we don't live in a bubble. Mm-mm. This is not just about the United States. We live in this entire world where everybody's looking at each other and they're all jockeying for position. And we're the big bad bully on the hill. Have been for a long time. Most of the world thinks of us as just terrible, terrible human beings as a whole because of all the things that we've done over time. You want to look at one of the world's biggest criminal acts of all time? How about dropping a couple of atomic bombs on population centers in Japan? Mm-hmm.
2.
Guantanamo.
And I'm not blaming Truman for that necessarily. Mm-hmm. You can go back and talk about Roosevelt and what really happened or did not happen with Pearl Harbor. You can go back in history beyond. You know, there was a president actually arrested. You know that, right? Ulysses S. Grant. Mm-hmm. While he was in office. You know what he was arrested for? Speeding in his horse and buggy. And he was upset about it. He said, oh, yeah, you better arrest me. To the African-American police officer in D.C. that arrested him. Now, that got buried until 1908 when the police officer actually told the story about this, and it came out to be true. But the point is throughout our history, there's been all this kind of stuff. But here's the problem. And you don't want to be worshiping these levels of people that reach this station in life. You don't want that worship, but you also have to understand that it's a presidency. Mm-hmm. It's not a person. Mm-mm. We can demean and degrade and feel bad about the person that was voted into office, whether it was right or wrong or indifferent. We can talk and be critical in the United States because of our First Amendment, the ability to exercise that right and talk about those people. But the station, the presidency, we're setting ourselves up for dismantling our entire country.
Well, the precedent's already done, and we can move on to the next segment after this. But the precedent is already done here. I mean, I like to have my comments on Instagram with people and be polite and respectful, but say things that make sense, and to me at least, and to some people they don't. And for some reason, there's like this apathy and misconception that what goes up won't come down for some reason. That is, the power base will always be there, that it's always going to be the same. It's not. And the thing that I don't think that these, on both ends of the aisle, these repeating parrots that watch mainstream media and never ever read anything or read any books about history, I think what they're not acknowledging is backlash exists, and backlash isn't always good. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have its benefits, doesn't mean it doesn't reset the bar. But I don't know about you guys, but the last thing I want is, our entire government system to fall in on itself. And every 4 years, flip-flopping back and forth on everything, not really getting anything done, intentional based around the system, and then adding in this nonsense of 2 years of campaigning, and then additional nonsense of everyone either cheating to get into the presidency, or cheating to stay in the presidency, or cheating to get out of the presidency, and then freaking indictments across the board is just nonsense. It's nonsense. It's distracting. It's okay, cool. Foreign policy and economy. That's not being discussed. No one's talking about those things. We're talking about the stupid, forgive me, the witch hunt going on with almost every candidate.
Well, I don't think people are paying attention quite as much as they should have to how quickly or how close we were to disaster like 2 weeks ago with Congress and the debt ceiling and everything. Like that could have ruined a lot of our lives, very much so. But it was fixed, thank God.
It was not fixed. It was kicked down the path,
as we've done for many
many
decades and generations.
And when you are the basis for the entire financial structure in the world, currently, still barely, then you can do these things and get away with them.
Yeah.
The modern economic theory says you can print all the money you want if you control what it means.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I don't know if we'll control that anymore. Let's jump into the second segment.
Let's move on from the heavy just for a second into the stuff that's not so heavy.
This is a segment by itself.
Like
I mentioned
aliens.
I mentioned it, so let's jump into
it.
What happened?
Were you about to say something?
Nothing. It's just that was there's more to unpack here.
We've got to keep the show digestible and succinct and beautiful.
There's more to digest. There is. You're right. But aliens are calling.
Aliens are calling.
Your attention right now.
It's okay. I know you feel passionate.
I know. So it all started on
the same day.
Yes, the same day. No. Late April.
Same day.
Well, hold on. Late April is when this happened.
I know.
And it kind of all started rolling out the same day as the Trump indictment stuff. But this actually happened April 30th, when a family in Las Vegas made a very chilling sighting in their backyard. According to body camera footage, they reported seeing a big creature that stood a staggering 10 feet tall. And a responding officer was intrigued by their account because another officer had witnessed something similar in the sky just minutes earlier.
Did they measure these guys?
They were assuming anywhere between too tall.
Gotcha.
Too tall to be human.
So Shaq in a basketball hoop. Cool.
Just a bunch of Shaquille O'Neals running around their backyard. I actually watched the body cam footage for this.
Anybody know the height of the tallest person in documented history?
11 feet.
Nope.
11.7.
I don't know.
8 feet 9.
8 feet.
35 feet tall.
8 feet 9 before he died. Yeah.
Ooh, rough, actually. That must have been difficult moving through
Yeah,
life.
of course, that pituitary gland.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Ugh. So another officer had seen something fall from the sky. So so the guy who responded was like kind of freaked out because there was something going on that was weird. So residents actually across several of the western states did see something, a vibrant fireball streaking through the sky that night, April 30th. Maybe you're thinking back and like, I did see something April 30th. Well,
it was a box full of documents.
it was Trump on a banker's box.
No, it was Trump dressed as Santa Claus. Hillary's riding shotgun with him.
Throwing papers of nuclear defense systems out.
Biden's digging through the bag of presents, throwing them out, looking for a child.
Oh, if we knew how to do a cartoon, that would be a hilarious one to do. Unfortunately, we don't. This responding officer, he assured the family that he was taking their claims seriously and he was looking into the matter. He admitted that the timing of both sightings was a little concerning to him. It was too coincidental for him to ignore. And the local news station, 8 News, which they wrote a really good article on this, so I'd recommend looking into it. But they shared separate camera footage of the glowing object flying in the sky captured by a nearby residence. And if you look this up, it's like, what is that?
It's glowing and it's flying, yeah.
Yeah. Now, as if that wasn't enough, about 40 minutes later, another individual called 911 to report 2 unknown entities in their backyard. A doorbell camera recorded an unusual noise and what seemed like a crash. Not sure if it was theirs or a nearby doorbell camera, but it was this family living in a ranch-style home in Las Vegas who had a front row seat to the very peculiar happenings. While working on a vehicle in their yard, they witnessed a sparkly object of some sort hurtling towards them. And they were given a shockwave effect when it landed. Like they actually felt it. And one of the witnesses described the spot where the object landed being obscured by like a type of camouflage, like they couldn't understand what they were looking at. Yes. And then in a frantic call to police, which they seemed pretty freaked out, they reported the presence of 2 enormous figures in their backyard. The 911 caller described seeing a very similar object falling from the sky first.
It was 2 little tiny things with a light behind them shooting a shadow up on a wall.
They described them as 8 to 10 feet tall. So, it
looks strangely like chipmunks in the woods.
No, it's like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch when he lands and crash lands. And he's like, but they had big mouths and shiny.
They all said Ohana out loud.
I almost just tried to do his voice, and I
You can do it. You can do it. Come on. Pull it out.
Ohana means family.
There you go. The caller insisted that these beings, these 8 to 10 foot tall things, were 100% not human, and expressed their terror and their certainty of that they were not human on the call to the dispatcher.
I know what they are.
What?
It's the 87,000 IRS agents.
They're here. This ranch style
Arrived.
home.
This is how they're coming to collect.
So the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, they took the reports pretty seriously, and they launched an investigation which lasted several days. But according to 8 News Now, that local station in Las Vegas, the case was eventually closed without any further explanation as to why.
It's because they got a call. Yes, where the what was the movie?
I got this. Yeah, we're gonna have you close down that research of the 2 individuals that you mentioned. We're a little bit too early for pushing forward with Project Bluebeam. We're about 15 years too early. Those guys are early arrivals. We're gonna hold them in the Area 51 for about a year or 2.
Well, it's what was the movie with Will Smith and
Men in Black.
Men in Black. Where do you think they got ideas like that?
Well, wait. Hold on a second. Wait, listen to this. Despite attempts to reach the family for interviews, they have apparently remained very elusive.
Yeah, they disappeared.
Publicly, one of the witnesses did reveal that they heard multiple footsteps in the yard and even on the roof at one point when this was going on. And they also mentioned seeing men in suits and sunglasses driving past their house and with cars and government license plates.
Here's the question that I have. In the world of when people, like, you'll be walking down the street and, like, someone's getting mugged and then they get stabbed and they start bleeding out and everyone takes out their phone instead of, like, mending the wound. In a world where we do that, you're telling me this is the one time where no one thought to take out their 4K cell phone?
I don't
No
know.
one got any footage of any of the aliens or the guys in suits. Only anecdotal evidence. See, this is what gets me about this stuff, because
The outskirts of Vegas here.
Whoa.
You used to live there. Come on now.
People had technology in Vegas. It might have been
People have
2004 technology in
You're
2016.
waking up with severe
but-
hangovers. I lost a shit ton at the roulette table.
Yeah, exactly.
And this giant guy came to kill me, so I'm turned into an alien thing.
It's bath salts.
It's like the bouncer from
I swear
from the Louvre. I almost said the Louvre. The Luxor.
The Louvre.
The Louvre.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
I'm the bouncer of the Louvre.
Anyway, while Nellis and Creech Air Force Base,
Dan Brown is the bouncer
a
of the
unit,
Louvre,
by the way, that's a unit of the base is being the infamous Area 51, official name the Nevada Test and Training Range.
Project Blue Beam.
They deny any involvement.
Right.
Sources within the police department indicated that they believe that something indeed crashed in the family's yard.
Can we talk seriously about why there hasn't been any footage of the family's yard? Why they haven't shown the crash site?
Maybe they have it and they just have to.
Dude, everyone in look, drones are available for the public. Okay, we were able. Look. This is what's so funny about
they
this.
took the one guy off the air. He'd have brought this up.
Yeah.
What's his name from
Alex Jones.
Alex.
Yeah, he's still around. He's still around. The thing that gets me about, and we're flagged now. We mentioned his name. The thing that gets me about all this is it's like the thing with the train that happened in Palestine, Ohio, a little bit ago. Everyone got footage of it, and people came out that were not experts and actually did their own tests and realized, hey, this isn't that good. And then the experts came out and said, well, actually, this is fine.
And then
You're developing cancer in your cranial lobe. We've tested you with our technology, but it's okay.
Then what they said is, hey, why don't we look up that movie script from a year ago that they did about this little town in near East Palestine that ended up having the same thing. Why don't we follow that script
exactly
to discover what actually we should do now?
This all goes back to simulation theory.
Simulation theory, or like I always say, time is all happening at the same time. All of it. Our job is just to view it
deep,
very deep,
real.
I would really go off the edge.
Deep,
there.
real. Well, I don't know what to think about this.
Well, it's worth noting that the incident adds to the growing number of UFO sightings across the United States, according to declassified.
Declassified. Those are in those Trump boxes. That's what that is. Right now, in the bathroom, he's reading what he's reading in that bathroom. After his second Big Mac of the day.
I want to find those big booty aliens. I want to find them.
I swear to God,
bodacious
everybody
buttocks.
says Melania is not real. And here's the evidence. She's an alien.
According to
I fell in love with a blue woman.
She's an avatar.
She's an avatar. James Cameron is an avatar.
That's right.
It's you know, the thing about all this that really gets me is this is not the first time this has happened. This isn't the last time it's happened.
As I was saying,
it's not the first. And the funny thing that gets me is the media, which again, this kind of ties the overall theme here. The media is so dumb and predictable now. They're so dumb and predictable that it's like, well, something we don't like is happening. Quick, talk about aliens. When they thought 5 years ago that aliens were a joke.
Well, like I was saying, the U.S. government has received over 510 reports of UFOs between late 2004 and mid 2022.
Oh.
So in 2021 alone, hundreds of identified aerial phenomena were reported. And like you were saying, see, if I was president, I would 100% be hiding these documents in my shower.
The first thing I would go to is all the conspiracies that are talking.
I'd be like,
bring out the book. I need to see it now.
No, you know what I would do? I would
This is why we can't be president, because I'd be terrible at it. I'd be like,
I wouldn't say anything, but
I'd want to see the
know.
tunnel. I'd want to see the tunnel where JFK and what's her name, where they got in to the White House.
Oh, Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah. That's the first thing I want to see.
But also,
then I want to roll a
here's
slinky
my,
down the stairs.
Here's my other question, though: is the growing number of reports because of more mysterious events, or
how deep does it go?
I can still hear the slinky.
It's like that. It's like that one scene from Ace Ventura. Everybody loves a slinky. Everybody loves it. It's just going down the stairs. The Alps.
You just cut me off.
I'm sorry. The slinky visual had to be
the Secret Service. Where's the president? Yeah,
Eagles, or his code name is Slinky One.
Slinky Eagle 1 is distracted. He has to determine how fast the Slinky goes down the stairs into the secret
Where's the president?
catacombs.
Oh, he's in the catacombs again, playing with Slinkies.
The world's too hard, man. I'm just going to play with my slinkies, bro. Anyway, back to aliens.
Is the growing number of incidents because there's actually more things going on, or is it just more people are comfortable speaking out?
Can I answer that with a question?
Well, you're going to anyway.
Can I answer
go
the
ahead.
question?
You just did.
Hey,
You asked the question.
I'm answering with. Can I answer it with a second question to a third question that I'm about to answer? Are influencers an actual job? Because this is the reason I asked that is because everyone wants to be Insta famous. Everybody. The amount of people that make stuff up purely for the sake of clicks and views is astonishing today. And I'm not using this to say that aliens don't exist, because I frankly think this was a real thing. With that being said, anyone and everyone can say anything and everything to their heart's content and only ever be fact checked if, of course, they're on a certain side of the aisle. if they have a certain viewpoint of the world. If you agree with the collective narrative, no one's ever going to question what you say.
Facts are a moving target.
Well, it's clear that we don't understand everything about the world we live in or the space that we...
Or should we?
Well, maybe not.
I think
you
if
can
it-
watch the video footage online, by the way.
It just looks like an asteroid.
CNN,
Or
USA
comet.
Today.
The question is this extraterrestrial or interdimensional? Because I think that's the better question when we talk about aliens.
I like that.
Because a lot of the
like a Marvel
things that you
character.
a lot of the things that you see in terms of how these UAPs come into existence or are videoed or whatever, the dynamics in which they create, which they pop in and out of quote unquote existence, give a layer to the idea of time more so than it does distance. From my unexpert opinion.
I love it. There was such authority, though.
Wolf.
You say things.
Wolf, go grab your slinky.
I can smell it from here. Well, that's interesting. I think it's just ironic. Just a little bit
Isn't it ironic?
Isn't it ironic?
Don't you think?
Here you go with your lyrics again. That in the same week, we're talking about the big guy getting in trouble with Burisma from the FBI. We're talking about the orange guy getting in trouble from the FBI and whoever else because of keeping documents near his shitter. And then we're talking about freaking aliens all on the same day.
Well,
what has happened to actual news?
Well, here's the news that we haven't been talking a lot about. That's our third topic.
Here's what I want to know.
Okay.
If you're the president, and one of the things you can do is declassify anything you want to, and you happen to take something home with you, isn't it like kind of automatically declassified? Isn't it assumed?
Yes.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
Okay. And he probably is an alien anyway.
Trump,
I think every...
Well, there's a book in the late
They're not
1800s.
reptile people. They're
There's a book in the late
aliens.
1800s about Barron, if you want to look it up, who followed a guy
pizza
named
guy?
Don.
Van Buren.
Barron,
Who are
who
you talking
followed
about?
a guy named Don and discovered how to move through time.
Was he
You
red?
know that? Look it up sometime.
Was he red?
A guy named Barron.
No, red. Was he red? Red Baron.
No,
The pizza guy.
he was.
Plain.
It was Trump's son.
Oh, Baron.
I know who you're talking about. I'm just saying, I was asking if he's red, because the pizza
look
guy
it
has
up
always been like Red Baron pizza. I've never been sold on it.
It was written about the same time as Alice in Wonderland.
Third segment. Let's jump right into it. Let's see what's going on with actual news that no one seems to be talking about, because we are an unserious community.
Well, there was a piece on the New York Times and even one on NBC News. There's a couple other ones, but it didn't make some of the big headlines. And as somebody who works in the transportation sector and has to look at all of this new stuff every day, it never jumped out. This was back in late May. So it may be an alarming story for both its details or for how little it's been mentioned, depending. But maybe let's talk about it. The missing California-Wyoming train shipment.
Yeah, what happened to that?
Well, in April, 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate went missing during a rail shipment from Wyoming to California. And ammonium nitrate is a pretty volatile chemical commonly used as a fertilizer, but it's also commonly used in explosives.
Makes things go boom.
And explosives company, the manufacturing company Dyno Nobel, reported the loss to the federal government.
Hold it.
and-
This was an explosive manufacturing company? Dyno Nobel? Isn't that what you just said?
That is what I said, but now I'm...
The research is in question. The
Hold on,
expert is being questioned.
Wait.
Well, it's one thing if the fertilizer company announced missing.
Yeah.
It's another thing if an explosive
Yes.
company announced missing.
Yes, it is an explosives
Holy shoot.
Yeah, so that is a great point. I didn't even like consider that while I was looking, like I was reading into this. I didn't even think about that. So this is an explosive manufacturing company, Dyno Nobel.
Well, never mind. We have more important things to talk about, like aliens and the two star-crossed lovers who will one day get together in a Twilight sequence and make sweet, sweet love, Biden and Trump. It's going to be great.
God, that'd be the most ultimate twist, wouldn't it?
You gotta throw Hillary in
Oh, Biden, you're doing the things I've asked you to do forever. Oh, who are you? Where am I? What's going on?
So
What's happening?
we'll move on from them for a second because this is
greatest-
the important news.
How do I feel about that?
Compilation of speeches in the history of presidential,
Or
archives.
they're
will be
coming.
his.
They're coming up.
I've seen so
They're
many,
arriving.
and there's so many more. It's going to be the best series of SNL skits for years.
Yeah,
We've
SNL's
got
not
2
fun
years
anymore,
of entertainment
so
coming
won't
right
happen.
up.
Anyway.
But yeah, great point actually you just bring up. The explosives manufacturing company who is shipping this chemical to California, Dyno Nobel, reported the loss to the federal government and is conducting an investigation into the incident. And according to Dyno Nobel, the rail car carrying the material was sealed when it left the manufacturing plant or whatever it was in Cheyenne, Wyoming on April 12th. The seals were reportedly intact when the rail car arrived in Saltdale, California, but the chemical was missing. And remember, we're talking about 60,000 pounds. Okay.
Now, was this a boxcar or was this a tanker? What was this?
That's another good question. See, you and I, we deal with the rail, so
We're thinking all the time.
Let's look. Ammonium nitrate.
I think they
Because
put
it could have been in bins inside of a rail boxcar, or it could have been something inside of a tanker of some kind, which would have the whole idea of this. I think it's inside of a tanker.
think it'd be
I'm
Talking
pretty
about
sure it would be inside a tanker.
So how are the seals still intact is the question.
Well, the seals are on the inlet outtake. It's like and by the way, seals, even on these things, it's not like a detriment to get rid of them. It's all it is a verification of chain of custody.
Well,
if anything has happened,
Is it a
it's
detriment
numbered
to
seal.
replace them, though?
Well, you would have to create one with the identical, number sequence.
So it would have to be
on
someone
It would
on
be
the
inside. Well,
Yeah.
this is why I asked about the company that's exposing this information now, because if you think about it, almost if you read FBI stats on especially cargo theft, 85% of all cargo theft starts with an inside job.
Yeah.
So you would assume that somebody that either at the plant that manufactures for a company that creates explosives or a company that creates explosives, somebody on one side or the other of this knew what was going to be shipped.
Well, here's the thing. It just says rail car. I can't see if it was a tanker.
Good reporting news.
But the point.
Well, it
the
says
point
it
to make.
drew a leak of some kind, right?
They
Boxcar.
suspect.
Yeah, but so if it had to be a tanker, if I'm thinking about this further, because if it was in a boxcar, these materials would have been in some kind of multiple containers.
yes.
You don't leak them all at the same time.
I'm pretty sure
right?
it was in a tanker. So when you, for someone who doesn't know exactly what that is, you see railroad.
I think most people know what a tanker
Okay,
is.
well, yeah, it's like a lot of them are like black.
It's like the train
typically.
version of a tanker that's
Sure.
behind a semi-truck. Yeah.
So, yes, it was being shipped by the explosives manufacturer, but in all of the verbiage afterwards, you'll see it's being referred to as a fertilizer.
But you see, that's the problem. If the Norfolk Southern thing that happened in Ohio, one of the things that the public learned out of that is that if you have a certain percentage of your train, of your tanker cars or your box cars, if a certain percentage of that is hazmat with a particular UN number of some kind, then it has to be at a different level of security and understanding throughout the complex of the railroads.
Very strict.
So what ends up happening is the bills of lading. That's the legal document that constructs what is in a tanker, what's on a boxcar, what's in a container, et cetera, is created in such a way that it gives its component part, which is fertilizer, and expresses that it can be a specific UN number, but they're not saying this is,
Right.
so that they can qualify that. Now, the thing that people don't, and this, I know this is detailed out there, but the thing that has to come to the light about this is the railroads, all of them have a lot of technologies, many, many more technologies than people think. It's not just a bunch of track and a guy in a locomotive with a little hat on going, weep, weep. There's more to it than that. And when something's moving along the railroad has audio and laser technology and weight sensitivity metrics that
This is why the Ohio thing was such a F up.
correct.
Yeah.
Because when things go along the tracks, there's a ton of data that comes back to the headquarters of the Union Pacific in Omaha, for instance, and says these things are happening. The overall weight of a container car, a stretch of 7,500 feet of container car or box cars, etc., is structured in such a way with this much weight here, this much weight here. This. So when it's going over the tracks, that weight will be shown. Mm-hmm. So if something's suddenly gone, that weight is missing.
So
they can backtrack all this stuff,
right?
Yeah.
And the point. So here's the weird thing about it is it was observed leaving Cheyenne with no sign of a leak, seal intact. It shows up in Saltdale, California, seal intact, nothing in the rail car. So they think a leak, that there's been saying publicly, there's a suggestion that a leak may have developed in the bottom gate of the rail car. And that's how it happened. Showed up, there was nothing in there. It must have been a leak.
Empty.
How long is this trek?
See, so it's not season 4, episode 13
Yeah.
of Breaking Bad, where they.
I mean, so the question I have is how long is this trek?
We'll get into that. So the
How
rail,
long
it's a long
does it
way,
take?
Cheyenne, Wyoming to
it's
California.
It's far,
and plus
and
it
it's
stops all
desolate.
the time.
Yeah, but
These
there's
things stop to pick up other stuff.
right. It's also like it goes through a lot of areas that are just thick with forest, and it's a lot of open.
Mountainous.
Well,
yeah,
correct me
yeah.
if I'm wrong, but ammonium nitrate, I have no idea what it looks like visually, but I have to assume it glows bright green
Not quite.
and burns through everything to
Well,
the core
It's
of the earth.
basically just
By
urea.
powder.
It's urea. Basically,
Green.
what it is. Urea.
Urine.
Yes.
Green.
Green urine? I don't know. You better check yourself. You better have a
you
doctor's
okay over
appointment.
there?
Glowing.
Glowing green.
Well, the rail car was, after they figured this out, they transported it back to Wyoming for further investigation. And Dyno Nobel has stated that it has very limited control over the train's activity during the transportation of tar cargo, which is 100% true. I believe that. Union Pacific was the rail carrier who was involved, and they confirmed that their investigation is in its very early stages. This was as of May 30th, right? And they maintain that the release, if caused by a leak, should not pose any risk to the public health or the environment. And the government agencies involved, because railroads really have done a great job of explaining that the past couple months. But the government agencies involved are also not really agencies that are ever involved in some sort of domestic terrorism investigation. So that is something to keep of note. But Dyno Nobel has said they do not suspect that any criminal activity has been involved.
Well, why wouldn't they say that? I mean, think about this for a second. 60,000 pounds of an ammonium nitrate up and disappears. You're going to say, we suspect criminal activity? That's what you're going to say? You're going to immediately state that you expect the worst? Of course you're not going to say that.
Well,
So-
if it's their product that's missing. I mean,
yeah. So what you do in any instance of being found at fault, quote unquote, for something is you play dumb.
well, the Federal Railroad Administration and the California Public Utilities Commission, they're conducting their own investigations into this. Ammonium nitrate is primarily used as fertilizer. However, it can be employed in manufacturing and as an explosive in mining and construction. And that also makes sense that it'd be being shipped for that because it was shipped by an explosives manufacturer, which I'm now realizing no one was trying to make that point very obvious in any
Yes.
of the articles about it, which
To try and save Dyno Nobel's face. Yes.
it's important to note also that ammonium nitrate, although relatively harmless on its own, does have the ability to become explosive with a fuel source and like heat and pressure.
Okay, so this is how we do this.
Railroad.
This is how we do. Yeah,
Has a lot of
pressure.
heat and
Yeah, so we
pressure
send another
involved.
train with no one on it. We automate a train, no one on the same pathway, and we put a bunch of gasoline tankers and just create leaks in them and just let's just see what happens.
I think
Well, the fact of the matter is if it has a leak, that would be discovered immediately. Mm-hmm. So, what's the holdup?
well, yeah, and the hold up
The
on
leak
its
doesn't.
face.
It's shaped like a 10-foot tall alien.
This isn't like sulfuric acid eating through anything. This is not that way. It just suddenly developed a leak. What? There's a lot of questions.
Ammonium nitrate is responsible for like the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing.
Which, speak of the devil. Didn't that guy just die?
No,
He
that
did
was
yesterday.
the Unabomber.
Unabomber died yesterday.
You're right. Unabomber did.
Also, like the massive explosion in Lebanon in 2020, August
I remember
2020.
seeing that video.
I think everyone saw that video.
That was
wild.
That was ammonium nitrate exploding at a port. And like the famous video, I think probably all of us have seen, a lot of people who are listening have seen, is of the guy on the jet ski, and he sees it happening and he jumps in the water right when the shockwave comes at him. Yeah. Devastating consequences with misused ammonium nitrate.
Well, it's just, I think it's interesting that no one is talking about it because they think that the response of, well, there's no criminal activity, just merits that it's not news anymore.
Well, the investigation's continuing. I haven't seen anything updated, at least I didn't do like the hugest, deepest dive, but the most recent stuff I saw was from the last week of May.
I don't think they're ever going to update you. I don't think
And as someone who spent a decade of my life personally doing railroad claims for damages and loss, I can assure you that we may not have any answers anytime soon if we ever do it all.
I don't think you will. I just don't think you will. I think because here's the thing: if it's a leak, yeah, ammonium nitrate is bad by itself, but that's another notch against what was BNSF or was it UP?
UP.
A notch against UP, which if I was the railroads, I would just want news to just stop coming out about us at all, so we could continue our corporate monopolization of the industry.
Sorry, I poked my eye.
That's okay.
The eye patch.
With that being said, that's actual news. Even though it's really fun to think about, a sloppy love fest between Biden and Trump, and then finally reconciling their differences in so many different ways. But I think the merit, I guess not the merit, the tone of our episode today is probably just how ridiculous the news is. There's so many ridiculous things come out all at once when important things come out, and no one notices
just as bad because we talked about nothing important.
I know we didn't. Nothing important at all. But yeah, anything else to say? Any opinions at all before we wrap up?
The only way we'll know I want to bring up one more thing. On all that stuff I was reading about the ammonium nitrate, they kept saying the chemical is designed for ground application and quick soil absorption. So even if it did leak, we probably won't know for sure. I'm like, why do we keep referring to it specifically as fertilizer when it was obviously being shipped by an explosives manufacturer?
They needed fertilizer for
There's nothing going on over here. Just look over here.
So I guess the only way we'll know for sure, because they probably won't be able to detect it if that's happening. If there's like just a bunch of wildflowers between Wyoming and California on the railroad, I don't know what else to say. Like that's...
suddenly there's like a whole squad of wildflowers that are like 50 feet tall.
And then following that is like a squad of like co-ed college girls taking summer photos during the flower bloom.
The poppy.
Yeah,
the
that'd be great. I guess that kind of wraps it up. Yeah, that wraps up the episode. If you happen to like the episode, that's wonderful. We appreciate you. We appreciate you being part of the Wolf and Bull family. And we hope that you did like the episode. You can find more of our content on Instagram at the Wolf and Bull. And you can also find us again on YouTube and on Rumble. If you happen to have liked this episode, a subscription would be greatly appreciated, or a 5-star review on Spotify or any other major listening platform. But yeah, with that being said, thank you again for joining us, and we will catch you next week.